Americans for Fair Taxation presents the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, president of Americans for Fair Taxation, and recorded by Bob Paxton, a volunteer with the Florida FAIRtax Educational Association. And now, this week's Chairman's Report.
Hello, I'm Bob Paxton with the AFFT Chairman's Report for Friday, March 15th, 2024. A great new book. If you're a FAIRtax supporter, you know that there's a lot of deception being perpetrated against the FAIRtax. DC and its minions are determined to discredit the FAIRtax by any means they can, and that includes spreading a wealth of disinformation about it that they know their friends in the media aren't going to question. In John Gaver's latest book, The Tax Deception, he exposes these fabrications and explains tax policy in a way that even people with limited knowledge of how taxation works can easily understand it. Though it's difficult to call a book on tax policy entertaining, you certainly won't be bored. In fact, former Governor Mike Huckabee calls the book brilliant and says that it should be read by Democrats and Republicans alike. You can find his full comments on the back cover. When you finish reading The Tax Deception, you'll have the knowledge you need to clearly and authoritatively discuss the FAIRtax and tax policy in general with everyone from your spouse to your congressional representatives. Although when speaking with your representatives, be sure to speak slowly and not use big words. You'll also be able to advocate persuasively for the FAIRtax on social media and at town hall events. The Tax Deception is essentially a plain English, goals-based analysis that breaks tax reform down into 22 bite-sized goals. In the Tax Deception, 3 types of tax reform are compared to the current income tax and to each other. The book is broken down into 4 sections. In the first section, John identifies the problems with our current income tax. In the second section, he discusses the basics of each plan and establishes 22 goals for tax reform based on the problems identified in the first section. Then, in the third section, he examines how well each tax reform plan meets the stated goals. Each plan is ranked on a scale of 1 to 10 for each goal. And in the last section, the scores are totaled and one tax reform plan clearly rises to the top: the FAIRtax. Even an ideal flat tax barely broke 50%. Now, if you've ever found yourself stumped when talking to someone about the FAIRtax, then you need to read The Tax Deception. It's filled with charts, tables, graphs, and analogies that make it easy to remember the important points. There are 76 footnotes containing URLs where you can find the sources for cited statistics, official statements, and the like. Now, The Tax Deception is a fast read, but it will arm you with the data you need to discuss tax policy clearly and accurately with everyone. But, most importantly, it will let you see what the DC elites have been hiding from you for decades, that current tax policy is designed to benefit them, not you. When it comes to taxes, an informed voter is the last person many members of Congress want to have asking questions at a town hall. They know that one properly phrased question can shatter their narrative on taxes and expose their tax deception to everyone present. On the other hand, the politico may be just another victim of tax deceptions regarding the FAIRtax. Either way, after reading The Tax Deception, you could well become the person who turns one of these politicians around. This is a book that each of us should order and send to our elected representatives as well as to our friends and neighbors. It's now available for pre-order on Kindle for delivery on March 15th. The paperback will be available for normal order on March 15th on both Amazon and Barnes & Nobles, and the ebook should be available for Nook and iOS on that day as well. First day sales make a huge difference in making it a bestseller. Also, after reading it, please write a review. Even a one-sentence review is far more important than just giving it a star ranking. The more people who read The Tax Deception, the more people can see through the myriad of deceptions surrounding the FAIRtax, and the closer the FAIRtax comes to becoming a reality. In conclusion, please order copies of The Tax Deception for each of your members of Congress. Give copies to your friends as well, and enlist them in helping us eliminate the dreadful income payroll tax system. The choice is easy. Do we want a system for funding the federal government that is so simple that everyone can understand it? that shows the cost of the federal government on every retail receipt so all of us understand what we're paying, that helps U.S. companies compete with foreign competitors, that keeps jobs in the United States rather than exporting them to other countries, that permanently establishes the solvency of Social Security and Medicare, and is the largest transfer of power from D.C. to the people since the Constitution was adopted. D.C. is ignoring the one real solution that allows us to remain citizens and not subjects, the fair tax. The fair tax is simple, non-invasive, but most of all, it works. The solution? Pass the fair tax. Now, why would D.C. do that and give up an almost unlimited source of donations? Well, they won't, at least not voluntarily. The only way they will is if the rest of us demand it. Isn't it time to end this ludicrous tax collection system and the IRS along with it? Now, there's going to be a vote on the fair tax in the House of Representatives. We now have the opportunity to force all members of the House to show where they stand. They can vote for the President Income Payroll Tax System, or they can vote for the fair tax. They can support the corrupt income tax in the IRS, or they can vote to eliminate it. It can't be any simpler than that. They can hide the true cost of their government, or pass the fair tax and show everyone the true cost of government on every retail receipt. And finally, they can support the largest transfer of power from government to the people, the fair tax, or they can vote against it. Now, if members think the fair tax needs to be amended to address a problem, then they can propose that change. Don't let them get away with rejecting the entire bill because it has a perceived flaw that can be easily addressed. Don't think for a minute there aren't any flaws in the income tax. Help us bring about real tax reform and stop future IRS abuses. By contributing or investing $10.40 a month, you help provide a financial base to Americans for fair taxation. Now, if you can make larger contributions/investments, these will be used not for salaries, as we're all volunteers, but for the needed updates to our economic studies, which will be vital for all future years. Please go to FAIRtax.org to invest in AFFT and help us pass the fair tax. It's an investment in your and your family's future.
This has been the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, President of Americans for Fair Taxation. Check back every week for news and information about the fair tax, and learn why the fair tax should replace our antiquated federal income tax system. If you'd like to receive a copy of the Chairman's Report in your inbox every week, sign up at FAIRtax.org.